Hi, I'm Mike Ryan. For those of you who have read Turquoise in America Part 2, you're probably familiar with the name Danny Lopacki because you will have read Danny's story in Chapter 5 called First Contact, which tells the story of the reintroduction of Chinese turquoise into the U.S. market in the late 1980s. And Danny was an important part of that. Recently, I had an opportunity to visit with Danny in his home in southern New Mexico. And he was able to share with me, and I'm able to share with you, some beautiful examples of turquoise, and we also get a chance to see his shop, which is quite an experience. So we're going to break this into two parts. In the first part, we'll look at some turquoise, and in the second, we'll see Danny's jewelry shop. So I hope you enjoy your visit with Danny Lopacki as much as I did. So, hi everybody, this is Mike Ryan, and we have a real special video today because we're here visiting with Danny Lopacki. And many of you are familiar with Danny from his story in Chapter 5 of Turquoise in America, First Contact, when Danny was one of the first Americans to go to China and be involved in the export of Chinese turquoise to the U.S. market in the late 1980s. So here we are in southern New Mexico at Casa Lopacki, and this was the home that Danny and his wife Susie founded. How many years ago was that, Danny?
We founded the Diamond Tool Company when we were still up in Gallup.
So that was it. They started the Diamond Tool Company in the early 90s. Was that correct?
Early to mid.
Early to mid 90s. Moved down here, and they had a very successful diamond tool business because many folks, including myself, first came into contact with Danny buying diamond saw blades from him for our lapidary work. So Danny, it's wonderful to be here. You have a beautiful home and a beautiful area you live in. You told me that one of the things was your first love was the old Mogollon culture that is well known for the Membries pottery. And you have a little treasure here. Maybe you could share that with us. Don't drop it. I don't want to have to buy it.
Okay, I was telling Mike that my first influence for my artwork, my jewelry, was the Membries Indians because of the simplicity of the art and then the impact that simplicity gives you. I always wanted to own a Membries bowl, and fortunately, I don't know, in the last 10 years, I had a friend contact me, and he had a friend that was getting ready to sell 4 Membries bowls. Anywho, long story short, I managed to buy this bowl. I always wanted a Membries bowl, and now I have one, and I don't want any more. So, you know, but I'm just thrilled to own this.
I noticed that has been put together from pieces. You know, most of the Membries pottery, we don't find them in whole bowls. They're found in the various rarely. So this was really remarkable and rare because I think we can see in here, you can see how all of those pieces had to be found and then constructed. And this probably doesn't happen very often. So I imagine these bowls like this are extremely rare.
And extremely expensive. When I first started doing business up in Santa Fe, early 80s, they had legal Membries bowls, and bowls that big were $20,000. So they're extremely collectible and extremely rare. I'm thrilled to actually own.
Well, it's a real treasure. Thanks for sharing that with us.
At this point in my life, I'm cleaning up a lot of my treasure nuggets that I'll never cut, never. And I have some people that agree with me. You shouldn't destroy it. Anyway, this is a Caracal Lake nugget that I bought years ago. I'm slowly cleaning it up. I'm using picks and whatever to get down into it. And it's just luscious, and I just can't imagine cutting this. You know, this is a little bit of turquoise history that should stay how it is. It shouldn't be messed
Is that
with.
a large nugget for Caracolate?
I think they get bigger, but this quality of color that has depth into the stone, because it's very dense. So I know that it's not full of this mud once you start slicing it. But I plan on doing a little bit more work on this, and then it's just part of the family heirlooms, I guess is a good way to put it.
You know, when I see a stone like that as a collector, not as someone trying to maximize carat weight for sale, the first thing that comes to mind is, like you said, just keep it as a specimen. But then part of me is like, oh, I want to see that shining up. I want to shine that up. So I want to put it onto the wheel and at least just start buffing around that. And then, of course, what I would end up doing is having the whole specimen a finished specimen as opposed to a rough specimen.
And I might do that to one little corner, grind it down and polish it up so people get an idea.
Well, that's often what happens, is rather than do the whole thing, is just do enough and create those eyes so we can see what the beauty that we pretty sure is in there. It's definitely there.
This is a piece of Orville Jack I just did some videos on. I've got 5 just amazing pieces of Orville Jack I bought years and years ago. Anyway, I cleaned this all up. I have a video of it on my YouTube channel. Maybe it will be on my YouTube channel, but it isn't yet. My YouTube channel is just Daniel Lopacki. This particular one, I think I might end up, I'm a very good carver. I just find it too tedious. I may end up cutting this end off through here and make this into a carving.
So would that be more of a fetish type carving, or
probably like a frog or
a frog?
You know, the neat thing about this one is it shows that beautiful bright yellow in it.
So that would generally be considered more of the Faustite?
Well, yeah, that is exactly what it is. But people have always called it turquoise, and it's not turquoise.
Well, you know, the way I put it, Danny, is Faustite and turquoise and chalcosiderite, different stones. They have different chemical formulas, but they're so closely related, they can't legally get married.
Right, I agree. And this little gem here, I spent a long time in China chasing turquoise, as Mike knows. This is one of the nicest specimens I collected in China. And again, when I got it, it was all covered with mud and dirt and all this stuff. This is Chinese Faustite. I took a 3/4 pound piece of this, almost this Nuggets twin. I took a 3/4 pound of it and turned it into $13,000 worth of jewelry, which is kind of impressive. Anyway, this needs to stay exactly how it is. It weighs almost 1 kilo, so 1,000 grams. Anyway, this is the biggest Faustite piece I ever saw out of China.
You know, Danny, a lot of times we think in terms of grading turquoise or the related turquoise family like Faustite by their hardness on the Mohs scale. But there's also the density of the stone. And could you talk a little bit about that? Because isn't that what you're talking about when you pick up and you can feel the density, that there's material all the way through this?
Yeah, exactly. Feel the weight of that. It's super dense.
Yeah, it really is.
My friend Lee Loudon taught me early on what high-grade turquoise was, and I never looked back. I just always used high-grade turquoise. One reason, because I had it available to me. Back then, that would have been late 70s, early 80s. There was still plenty of good product coming out, and you could get it. But nowadays, most of the really beautiful high-grade stuff in jewelers' collections, you know, the people that knew and knew what they could make with it, they just put it away. You know, I've got an unbelievable collection of turquoise, and at this point in my life, I'm trying to get it in the right hands. I want, if I sell it to somebody, I want to know they're going to make beautiful jewelry with it, or beautiful beads, or whatever it might be. Because I just don't want it ending up in somebody's hands that's just going to not make the best value out of the piece of rock.
Well, Danny, you know, one of the things the viewers of our blog may know you for is a well-known butterfly that was flitting and flying around for many years until it finally found its way home. And I've gone on record as saying that is the highest grade turquoise I've ever seen in terms of, I mean, it is just most spectacular. And folks can see that on our website. We have an article about a butterfly's journey, and there are other places you can see photos of that magnificent butterfly that would have been made in 89, I think it was.
Yeah, I think Alan and I figured out it was in 89.
Yeah. You know, Danny, I've commented sometime that had you been born a Native American,
I'd be a wealthy driving a Ferrari.
You'd be flying in your own private jet, because really the quality of Danny's work really rivals that of any master jeweler that I know.
I'm friends with a lot of them.
Well, of course, sure.
Equal to, or a lot of them better. You know, there's no ego involved in that statement.
No, in fact, I would just invite folks to look at a photo we have about, it's in part 2 in the Turquoise Gallery, of a necklace that Danny made from Northern Lights turquoise.
Oh, that thing, beautiful.
And isn't that, it's really, really beautiful.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So, do you have anything else in your shop or anything else to show us here?
Tons of stuff.
Well, let's go take a quick look at that right now.